So I'm Adam McCartney. I'm from Basingstoke in Hampshire. And running history. Interestingly, probably maybe not interestingly, it is the 10th year anniversary of me starting running ultra marathons. So I ran my first ultra in May 2024. Before that, I'd run a couple of marathons, a few half marathons, and then I started thinking it would be quite cool to find out how far a person could run in a certain amount of time or be pointed in a direction and told keep going till you can't. And I just started doing those. And I've done a bunch of them since then. So I kind of specialize really in ultra marathons because, you know, I'd rather, do something really daft and long than try and kill myself trying to run a really fast 5K. That's so unappealing to me, and it just suits me. And, so just going long, and also anything like really daft as well. Like I like really weird stuff. Like in my running club, I'm kind of known as the guy who does all the stupid races, like up buildings or against trains or horses. Or last year I did a race in Bedfordshire carrying a 20-kilo sack of potatoes on my back. So that's kind of the weird stuff I do. I'm not really a turn up and do the local 10K kind of guy. So I think that kind of ties back into the backyard and why backyards kind of are right on my street, because they're really weird and stupid. And it just really suits me. I have indeed run backyards before. I have run just two. So my first one was the Suffolk backyard in 2020. It was the most challenging year of running ever, because it was supposed to happen in May or June, and then it got bumped for obvious reasons, and eventually it got pushed into October along with everything else. So I ran that the first weekend of October, and then proceeded to have three more ultras that month, because everything from that year just got shoehorned into the kind of 6 weeks they were allowed to have races before everything just got ground to a halt again in December. So yeah, I ended up running my first go at a backyard. I did all right, given it was actually the first ultra of the month instead of the third ultra of the month. It was weirdly a good setup for the rest of it. Apparently, yeah, there I did 16 yards. I think I just about finished my 16th yard with a few minutes to spare, and I'd set myself the challenge to die on the course, and I just went, I'm not going back out. It's going to be miserable. I had a really, really bad time on that last lap, and I have no intention of having an even worse time on the next one. So I just went and rang their bell to say I was done, and then went back to my tent and went to sleep. But I'm still happy with that. 16 was good. It meant I finished at stupid o'clock in the morning, which was kind of horrible as well. It seems to be the nature of the races, really. And then I did my next backyard, left it a few years, and then ran Rasselbock last year in March as part of the Bright squad with the guys from We Run Bright, Vic and Gav, and then team with some other people in there as well, Jenny, Emmy and Graham. So the six of us did it as a big event, big sponsored thing where we had a load of shirts and our tent and all that kind of stuff. So it was very different from my first backyard, where I had no idea what I was doing, and I was just living out my own tent on my own, eating, drinking all my cold stuff because I had no time to do anything. And then this time I had the luxury of coming back, and someone had made me a pot of porridge and a cup of tea, and there was a guy with a camera following us around, and yeah, it was a very different experience. Much more enjoyable experience, you'll be pleased to hear. Yeah, I went a little bit further, did another couple of yards, 18 last year, which I was really happy with. And my main goal there was beat the previous one. So I did that, started my 19th, and I just was not feeling it. I went about 200 yards out. No, a little bit further than that maybe. And then I just went, nuts to this, I'm going back. And I had Martin, the cameraman, right next to me, and I just kind of looked across at him and was like, and then wandered back and came and found you and got my pine tree. And then I just went back, explained to everyone all the help that we had, all the crew, that yeah, I started, no intention of finishing that one. That was me done. So went back, had some more food, went to sleep. But yeah, again, and then this year back again, Rasselbock again, same people again, hopefully, and then just try and beat it again. I think, yeah. I think the thing with backyards I found is at first you're fine, you can come back and you don't need to do that much, so you've got plenty of time to do it. And then as you're getting a bit tighter on coming back, you find you have more things to do. So you have to decide, what am I going to do when I get back? Am I going to go to the loo? Am I going to have something to eat? Am I going to change my socks? Because I cannot do all three. And you get back and you're already ringing the bell for 3 minutes, and it's like, I think I'll take some food on the go. I need the loo. And it's just, yeah. And then decisions start getting made. I think the big backyard, the thing I took away from my first backyard, weirdly more than anything else, and this always makes my girlfriend laugh, and she's just over there, and she might laugh when I say this. Every time I ran a lap, I kicked the same route on this hill up, and I smashed my foot to pieces. And that doesn't sound funny. I guess you had to be there. But to the point where, like midnight, running through there, been going for 12 hours, and I'd hit it, and I'd just be like, mother, and I'd shout in the middle of these woods that I'd smashed my foot. And that was more debilitating than anything else. That was what really slowly ground me down on that one. Another one out of that backyard as well was because of the times we were living in. We were running, and it was pitch dark because we were out in the middle of nowhere in Suffolk, near Thetford, and we saw all these blue lights and stuff. And it turns out that the police had been called because there was some kind of gathering in the woods, and they didn't know what was up, because none of the organisers had mentioned, oh yeah, by the way, we're going to have a running event that's going to go through the night and is going to have a constant stream of people going around these woods, that again, you're going to see head torches and stuff. And no one had told them, so they turned up thinking that, it was a legal rave or some kind of sacrificial something, and they were very disappointed to turn up to find a lot of sort of slow moving miserable runners just trudging around the woods. So training has been everyone always complains their training's not gone well. My training has been quite minimal. I'm not gonna lie. I had a pretty good 2023, and then I got through to, funnily enough, running your event in Oxford, the Bannister 24, and I ran that, and then after that, I just kind of slowed right down on running. I didn't go out nearly as often. My miles really dropped off. I had a few races still coming up, but I kind of coasted along, and I knew what I was doing. I was kind of taking it a bit easy, and I turned up for everything I'd signed up for. I did like a 20 miles on a timed run in October, and I ran New York Marathon in November, and they had these kind of little outposts of races that I was doing, and then in between I was sort of maybe once a week, twice a week, I was going out running. I wasn't really hitting it hard, and I was like, okay, it's cool, I'll coast into the end of the year, then start up properly again in January, which I've kind of sort of done. I've got another weird and wonderful thing I'm doing towards the end of the year involving a treadmill. So I've kind of justified not going out in the cold and just going to the gym and running on the treadmill, because I look at it and think, well, I know I can run outside, I know I can run trail, I know I'm okay in bad weather and hills. So really, it's just about staying fit and doing some miles to keep my legs going. So I kind of, in my own head, I've talked myself into thinking, oh, treadmill's fine, treadmill's good. So honestly, I've just been in the gym, and just, I think with the backyard as well, I think it's the kind of race where I think if you went out for a reasonably long walk, you could justify, okay, that's training. Yeah, walking 3 miles is training, because I want to do a fair amount of walking, and I feel like if I finished that walk and maybe jogged a bit, I'd be fine within the hour. So I'm kind of talking myself into thinking that's all right, and it probably is, to be honest. I like to think I've got enough kind of like ultramarathon muscle memory that I'm going to be okay there. And I think as long as I go into it reasonably fit, it's more about going in a good mood and with my head up and like thinking I'm going to do all right, than it is going in really, really fit, but maybe a bit burnt out. So again, I'm talking myself into thinking that all the choices I've made are good. As for a target for this year, I think beat last year. I think first and foremost is beat last year. So if I could do 19 and actually go out on the 19th and actually finish it, that would be awesome. I think after that, I think I'd like to get to 24 because I think 24 is that mythical magic number that a lot of people like because it's 24 hours and it's 100 miles. It's like two things in one. And then I think my stretch goal beyond that is the furthest I've ever run in one activity is 105 miles. So if I can go out and if I can do 26 yards, then that means I beat that. And I think that'd be a really good test to see that actually I'm not just chatting a load of nonsense by saying, oh yeah, well, I'm staying reasonably fit and I'm going to the gym and that's okay. And I've got, a good mental attitude towards it. And that's more important for going far than necessarily being monstrously fit, but really sad. So, that would kind of almost vindicate my choices on that and my feelings on that. So, and it would be really good grounding for the Bridge 200 that I'm doing in May. So I'm not really looking past the backyard because it's one of the 3 kind of big runs I'm doing this year that I'm kind of taking really seriously. But it's almost like the stepping stone to the next one, which is like 10 weeks away after it. And I think as well, with the thing that I found with the backyard is it's one of those races that you can't go off too. You can go off too fast. You just end up standing around. So you don't go off too fast. You deliberately walk quite a lot. Like last year, the 6 of us, we kind of walked at the back for most laps, and we were way back on the pack of everyone else ahead of us, and the pack kind of slowed down, and we caught back up with them. And we didn't really change how we were going, but we would force ourselves to walk the first 3 minutes of every lap. Just because it was well, there's no point running off because we won't do anything. We'll get back and we'll be pottering around. Unless you want to, have a full change of clothes, there's no point getting back in 45 minutes. So so because of that, I think if it will protect you a little bit if you're not going into it at the absolute top of your game. As long as you can go through and just keep it going, you can almost build up to it and get kind of fitter and stronger almost as you're going along, because you'll get 12 15 yards in or something, and you don't feel like you've gone as far as you've gone because you've been able to stop every hour and you've been able to walk from the get-go and stuff. And I think it's when I found with ultras, it's when you're okay, cool, I need to build up a head of steam. I'm going to run close to my marathon PB speed for the first 26 miles, and you end up running some 4-hour something marathon, and then cool, and now I'm going to walk until I run out of time because I'm burnt out because I went too fast. Because you can't do that with a backyard. It's not. You can't build up a lead, but that also means you can't burn yourself out. Ooh, a duck-sized horse, because I think a horse-sized duck sounds terrifying. Like a horse-sized duck. Think of the beak on a horse-sized duck.
Think of how loud the quacks would be.
It could probably eat you. You think about the beak to body ratio on a duck if it was as big as a horse.
You're the first person who's mentioned beak to body ratio.
And that in itself is a concern. More people should think about this.